happened recently, starting in 2006. What took place then? Well, Democrats have passed bill after bill addressing the financial difficulties Americans are facing. Democrats today passed the Credit Card Holders Bill of Rights, but this bill was passed in 2007, once the Democrats got a hold of the Congress. This bill we passed today is the second time we passed it. We're hoping that the other body, the folks down the hall, will pass a bill that matches up with it so the president can sign it. The president has made it clear he wants to sign a bill to help consumers with credit cards. But today we passed the bill again. I want to talk to folks about what some of the basic issues were and what some of the basic features of a Credit Card Holders Bill of Rights that we just passed today, keeping in mind the fact that Republicans didn't pass anything when they had the White House and the Congress, and during their tenure, subprime loans were just going through the roof. Here's what happened when you got Democrats in here. The Credit Card Holders Bill of Rights ends unfair arbitrary interest rate increases. This legislation prevents credit card companies from unfairly increasing interest rates on existing card balances. Retroactive increases are permitted only if a cardholder is more than 30 days late, if a promotional rate expires, if the rate adjusts as part of a variable rate, or if the cardholder fails to comply with a workout agreement. This legislation, which ends unfair and arbitrary rate increases, is good for the American consumer. This legislation lets consumers set hard credit limits and stops excessive over-the-limit fees. This bill does that by the following way. Requires companies to let consumers set their own fixed fee credit limit that cannot be exceeded. So people think, well, look, you know, if I have a $500 limit on this card, I don't want to spend more than that. This is my way of controlling my spending. Well, what some credit card companies do is let you spend that $501, but then they charge you back $35 for the privilege. Privilege in air quotes, that is. You didn't want that. That's not what you paid for. Now you can say $500, that's it. This bill lets consumers set hard limits and stop over the limit fees by preventing companies from charging over the limit fees when the cardholder has set a limit or when the pre-authorized credit hold pushes a consumer over the limit. What'll happen? The credit charge is denied and you just can't buy that purchase. But maybe consumers want that so they can control their spending, or if they let their child use the card, they want you to do that. So now consumers will be able, if we can get through the Senate and the President signs it, we will be able to do this. This bill ends unfair penalties for cardholders who pay on time. It ends unfair practice known as double cycle billing. What is this? What is double cycle billing? It's when card companies want to charge interest on a debt consumers have already paid on time. So let's say you paid your debt on time, but what they want to do is charge you interest on that debt that you paid on time. Is that fair? No. If a cardholder pays a bill on time in full, this bill that we passed today prevents card companies from piling additional fees on balances consisting only of leftover interest. And this bill prohibits card companies from charging a fee when customers pay their bill. So there's this thing that the credit card companies have called pay to pay. Not pay to play, pay to pay. Meaning if you want to pay, you got to pay in order to pay. That doesn't seem like it makes much sense. If you're paying your bill, they ought to take the money which spends for the bill you paid. This Credit Card Holder Bill of Rights, which we just addressed, which addresses the credit card situation that people are facing, requires a fair allocation of consumer payments. This is an important thing because it is through this clever little practice that a lot of Americans see their pockets get holes in them and their money run out. What this means is many companies credit payments to a cardholder's lowest interest rate balances first. Now, why does that matter? Because if you incur a debt and part of that debt you're paying 10% on. And then you make another charge, and now the interest rate is increased, and you're paying 20% on that other part of the debt. Say now you got two charges, one for 110%, another for 120%. They won't let you pay off the higher interest rate amount first. They pay off the lower interest amount first. Why? Because the higher interest rate for the longer period of time gets them more money, loses you more money. So companies credit payments to a cardholder's lowest interest rate balances first, regardless of when you incur the debt, making it impossible for a consumer to pay off the higher rate debt. The bill bans this practice. This bill we passed today bans this, and requiring payments made in excess of the minimum to be allocated proportionately to the balance with the highest interest rate. So now you can get out of debt. Now if you charge something on your credit card, you're not able to pay it off at the end of the month, you don't end up drowning in a sea of debt. You can get out of this muck, out of the mire. The Credit Card Holders Bill of Rights protects credit card holders from due date gimmicks. This bill, some credit card companies, the bill requires credit card companies to mail billing statements 21 calendar days before the due date and to credit as on-time payments made before 5 o'clock on the date due. This makes a big difference because you might pay your bill on time, but they say, nope, you didn't pay on time. Why? Because, well, we played some shenanigans with the due date. This bill extends the due date to the next business day for mailed payments when the due date falls on a day the card company does not accept or receive mail. That's Sunday and holidays. Very good for consumers. This bill prevents companies from using misleading terms and damaging consumer credit ratings. The bill establishes standard definitions for terms like fixed rate or prime rate so companies can't mislead or trick consumers by marketing and advertising. You know, the 9.9 fixed rate until it's not fixed. When is it not fixed? Well, when they say it's not fixed. It's fixed right up until it isn't fixed anymore. When is that? Whenever we say it is. This kind of practice is not fair and is going to be stopped by this bill. This bill protects vulnerable consumers from high-fee subprime credit cards. It prohibits issuers of subprime cards where the total yearly fixed fee exceeds 25% from charging those fees to the card itself. These cards are generally targeted to low-income consumers. So just think about somebody says, come get a credit card. You're low income, and they say there's going to be a fee for having this card. So you say, okay, well, whatever, I don't know because the fine print has me all confused and I don't really get it. I just think I'm going to get a credit card. So then what happens is you get the card, you sign on the dotted line, and before you even use the card for the first time, you find that there's already $400 worth of charges on the card. How could that be? You haven't really used it before. Well, the fee that they're charging you has been already put on the card before you ever used it. So if you cancel the card, you still owe them. And the interest rate just keeps on climbing. This bill stops that. Now, I tell folks all the time that I knew that things were bad when my 19-year-old son, who wasn't working, kept getting credit card solicitations in the mail. And I thought that was a problem. But I knew we had a real problem when my 13-year-old son started getting credit card solicitations in the mail. Yes, if you're watching this broadcast, you may have seen a 13, 12-year-old get a credit card solicitation. How does this happen? Well, because you sign up for Sports Illustrated or some magazine, your name gets on a list, and then they start doing it to you. Now, this credit card says that it prohibits card companies from knowingly issuing cards to individuals under 18 who are not emancipated. Now, the fact is, these are the basics of this credit card bill, this Credit Card Holders Bill of Rights. It's responsive government in action. It's responsive government in action.